everybody, and welcome to AMC Movie Talk for movie fans. I'm your host, Sinead DeFries, and this is the daily show where we bring you the latest news from the world of movies, plus some insight into what it all means. Joining us this morning is your AMC production manager, Dennis Sen.
Welcome, everyone, to a brand new episode of AMC Movie Talk. It is a sad, sad day here in AMC Movie Talk land, as one of our very own is leaving us today. I'm so upset I can't even talk about it. I'll let her talk about it.
Aww, that's really, really sad. Yes. For the last time, our senior editor, Miss Amy Rose Eisenbach.
I sound like I'm dying or something. For the last time. But yeah, it's my last show as a cast member. Okay. And Dennis and I have been in the trenches together all these years, and I'm going to miss everyone. I'm going to miss you, Dennis. We've worked so long and hard for this baby that is AMC. But yeah, I'll come back from time to time after my adventures in Asia, of course.
And it's not like he can follow that, but AMC's Mark Ellis.
Yeah, he can.
Don't worry, everybody. I'm still here.
Alrighty, so Warner Brothers has released the first trailer for the Point Break remake. The original film came out in '91 and was directed by Kathryn Bigelow. In the movie, a young FBI agent, Johnny Utah, goes undercover to infiltrate a team of thrill-seeking athletes suspected of major robberies with ringleader named Bodie. This version stars Luke Bracey as Utah, originally played by Keanu Reeves, and Edgar Ramirez as Bodie, originally played by Patrick Swayze. Dennis, what did you think of the trailer?
Not a fan. I did not like it. It doesn't have the vibe of Point Break, the original one. The original was not a masterpiece by any stretch of the imagination, but it had a nice, cool 90s vibe to it. The action was very well done by Kathryn Bigelow, and there was a chemistry and tension between Patrick Swayze and Keanu Reeves that is missing from this. Also, why is the trailer, everything's like green in it? I saw someone mentioned online, why is this like the Matrix version of Point Break? And just, I don't know, none of the action scenes or the dialogue just captured me at all. And it also has a lot of those typical sound cues that we hear in trailers now. Like, and I don't know, I just didn't feel any type of Point Break to me. What about you, Amy Rose?
I didn't either. But you know that when Kathryn Bigelow watched the trailer, she was like toasting a glass of wine to herself. She's like, yeah, I got this. I just don't understand why they wanted to remake this. One, it's not even like the original, which I guess to their credit is a good thing, because that's what you should do with a remake. I'm always saying, if you're going to do it, especially classic, because this is a classic to me, mister, that you should make it feel different. But in this way, I feel like it diluted it. They're adrenaline junkies. And Luke Bracey, I'm not sold on him yet. I mean, he's very nice to look at, sure, but Keanu Reeves, part of his charm was that he's very self-aware. He overacts. That's part of his appeal. And Luke Bracey, I don't feel like he knows he's not a great actor yet. And I'm sorry for all the Luke Bracey fans out there. Again, he might be a delightful human, but from what I've seen, November Man, just the other films he's been in, I'm not sure he can lead an action franchise yet. Edgar Ramirez, I think he's a great actor, but he's no Bodie. And so it just feels mismatched. I wish they would have named them something else and just completely been like loosely based on Point Break about adrenaline junkies and robbers and all of that, because there's a lot there that they could make into a good story, but it just feels like they went in a direction I'm not as interested in. But I will say the cinematography is beautiful. So there's one credit, being an optimist that I am, but no, I can't say this one hooked me.
Mark?
This is really tough for me, guys. I love Point Break. I think it's one of the great action movies. I think it's the best one that ever came out in the 90s, because you got to see Keanu Reeves learn how to act, as you got to see Gary Busey slowly go towards Crazyville. But Patrick Swayze in his absolute prime is what I most felt missing from the trailer. All the surrounding stuff, the adrenaline junkie vibe that I got, the fact that they're robbers and they're thrill seekers, they take extreme sports to the next level. That stuff looked cool to me. I liked that they were skiing and they were surfing, they were base jumping. That's neat. You can put that in like a Fast Five kind of movie where, yeah, it's a heist film and I don't know who's the good guys and the bad guys anymore, but there was something else. There was another dynamic at play in the original Point Break, particularly with Bodie's character. Bodie was almost like a cult. Like, you see this guy and you know you're supposed to be rooting against him, but you just like him so much you want to hang out with that dude. And then Edgar Ramirez, God love him, he's a fantastic actor. He comes on the scene and they introduce him as Bodie, and I'm like, that ain't Bodie.
No.
That ain't your daddy's Bodie. I didn't feel anything when I saw that dude. He just seemed like another dude who's like, yeah, we rob some stuff and then we jump off mounds and all right. So comparing it to the original Point Break is going to be a disaster on multiple levels. As a film on its own, I think it can be fine. I didn't hate watching the trailer for all the reasons I just mentioned, but it didn't feel like Point Break.
Well, you brought up Fast and Furious. I mean, that's a good thing to bring up because why don't they just do that? With Fast and Furious was basically a Point Break ripoff, right?
Totally.
But there was kind of some chemistry between Paul Walker and Vin Diesel. With this one, why not just call it something else and just say it's inspired by Point Break? But calling it Point Break, it's like I just don't get that.
Because then it's failing by comparison, opposed to just doing an adrenaline junkie film where we all know it's kind of loosely inspired anyway. And like you mentioned, that relationship, chemistry, yes, but tension. There was always this beautiful tension and layer of respect between Johnny Utah and Bodhi, played by Reeves, and Swayze. I didn't feel it at all. And when he first is introduced, he's like smiling. I'm Bodhi. Hey, like that wasn't it. Like when Swayze was on screen as this character, he was so charismatic. He was magnetic. You would just pull to him. And here I love Edgar, but he's not right for this kind of role.
Yeah. All right, what's next?
Damn it, Point Break.
All right, so before we get into the second topic, we have to give everybody watching a warning that there are spoilers about scenes in the upcoming Suicide Squad movie. So if you want to avoid any info about what happens in the movie, please skip ahead to the next topic. Okay, everybody, you have been warned. A batch of behind-the-scenes videos and pictures captured by fans from the Suicide Squad set in Toronto has hit the web. In the videos, you can see Batman riding atop Joker's car as it speeds down the street. Also, there is a picture of a mysterious creature. Amy Rose, what did you think about these videos and pictures?
So many mixed emotions here. First of all, we all figured that Batman would be in it, but I would have really liked to not see that for sure confirmed. I think, having more of a closed set would have been really cool, but I know I've been on sets. It's really difficult, but this is not a small picture. This is a multi-million-dollar picture. So I think they could have probably kept it a little more under wraps because we keep seeing video after video and the quality is terrible. It's like we live in an age where you can make movies on your iPhone. Yeah, all these are so bad, but anyway, that's besides the point. But I first of all, I want Joker's car to be my car because that is the sexiest, craziest thing ever. But from what separating the fact that we do have these major spoilers, it looked cool. And I do think that now that DC is finally taking a page, out of Marvel's playbook by making this universe share, that's what we want to see. So this kind of alludes to the fact that, we have this giant slate, but they do have it seamlessly fitting together. So it makes sense, especially with the Joker-Batman relationship and where it could lead into more Batman standalone. So from what I'm seeing, it's all kind of fitting together with the way we imagined it would. I just frankly don't want to see more, but it's one of those things where if it's released, I'm going to watch it because I'm so excited for the movie. So it's tough.
Mark?
Yeah, I mean, every time I hear that, there's leaked footage and I don't want to click it, and then I click it and it's like, that was fine. It's a car speeding down and Batman's on top of it. I can handle seeing that before I see the actual movie. What's hilarious is when you watch that footage, you can actually see somebody's filming it. Then on the other side of the street, there's a bunch of other people filming it. Like, nobody cares that this is going to get leaked. Maybe they want this stuff to get leaked and they want to build some sort of anticipation because hearing that Batman and confirming that Batman is going to be in Suicide Squad ain't the worst thing to happen to a movie from a promotional standpoint. So I always get upset about these things then when you step back and you say, you know what, it's the job of the movie once I'm in the theater to make me forget everything I know about this and set up this world for me. I knew what was going to happen at the end of Apollo 13, Titanic, Selma, but those movies did a good enough job of letting me forget all of that and just getting wrapped up in this story it's telling. So from that standpoint, fine. The actual video, I think, is going to be an awesome action sequence. I love the Joker's car. I love the look of this. I'm getting excited for Suicide Squad based on these leaks.
I love that you used really intense historical dramas as a comparison to Suicide Squad. Yes!
Isn't Suicide Squad also an intense historical drama?
Yeah, it's real life. This also shows that Batman is a big part of this movie because we, obviously hasn't been like super confirmation about it. But if he's gonna, there was another video of the Batmobile as well, and you had Batman top of Joker's car. So he's not just making a cameo. There's obviously some sort of big action sequence that involves him. So that part is cool. As far as the videos themselves, it's always funny watching these kind of behind the scenes stuff when it comes to action scenes because like on screen you watch them, they're like so intense and the music's pumping, they're cutting angles, the car's going super fast. When you watch the behind the scenes thing, the car goes.
Yeah, super slow.
So you're like, and they're probably going a decent speed, but compared to what you see on screen, it's way, way different. So
you're like, I can hold on to that car.
Exactly. So that part of it, I'm like, okay, maybe they should release a real behind the scenes something. That way people can get more excited instead of seeing just this type of stuff. And as far as the mysterious creatures, they look I don't know what they are, but they look gross. They look like they got like acne on the top of their head.
Those are barnacles, Dennis.
Okay.
Please.
Okay. But as far as that, I'm not sure. But I don't know.
They got a henchman vibe to them. You know, they got like a pawn. It doesn't. I don't know that they're going to factor in prominently. It's just something that you throw at a hero, the initial wave of attackers that you boom, 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 and then they're all on the floor.
Doesn't Smith look awesome though? Like my anticipation level is really high. It doesn't really matter how much I see because I just feel like everything is stacking up in its favor right now.
Yeah, and I think they're shooting on location in Toronto, so I think that's why they can't get people from stop filming. You can only block off certain amount of areas.
Yeah, well, less like quote Genesis. This is the world we live in, and 10 years ago, you didn't have to worry about everybody having. Literally, everybody has a video camera now, and you did not have to worry about that. So this is the new wave of filmmaking. You either have to have such a super secret closed set, or you're going to have some leaks. If this is the worst leak that we get, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to our buy or sell segment. Sinead, what do we got?
Machete director Robert Rodriguez has signed on to direct a live-action adaptation of the Hanna-Barbera cartoon Johnny Quest. The original series was about the adventures of a boy, his scientist father, and his friends traveling around the world. Mark, do you buy or sell Rodriguez directing a Johnny Quest movie?
I buy it. I buy it for the Johnny Quest franchise. Me personally, I think Robert Rodriguez is such a talented director. He's so good at doing the awesome action sequences that it's not the movie that I would want him to do, but he's proven that he can bring a kids franchise to glorious life with Spy Kids, or at least make it successful, even if the movies themselves aren't great. Johnny Quest is a movie they've been trying to get off the ground forever. At one point, I think The Rock was attached to it. Zac Efron was attached to it. In the mid-'90s, Richard Donner wanted to direct one of these, and it never quite got enough footing. So it looks like Robert Rodriguez finally has this in place where we can get this. And look, I mean, I don't care about the lore personally of Johnny Quest, but I think a lot of people out there do. And I think it would be fun to have a world where, I mean, you look at that, it's a silly-looking picture. They're going to obviously have to update some things, but I think that this could work.
Hey, Miras.
I want an El Mariachi Johnny Quest. That would be sick. Robert Rodriguez, this feels like a really unconventional choice, which is probably why I like it. I feel like he's really good with action. He could really modernize this. I also didn't really grow up on Johnny Quest, admittedly. I've seen a couple, sure, but I like the pup in the back. He's so cute. But I just think, whatever. But I just think that it's unconventional. And I always get really intrigued when something like that, a director that has really made a career for himself being this hot action with these very surreal effects. It's just like explosive realism is always what I call it. He's just such a master of the visual. And I feel like for something like this, it just feels like an unlikely pairing. So I'm sure he's going to make it really cool. I buy it, sorry.
I'm cautiously going to buy it. I did watch the cartoon when I was younger. I was a fan of it. I do think he is a good fit, though, just because of his Spy Kids stuff. I mean, I think they're going to make this kind of like a James Bond for kids. And even though I guess I didn't watch the Spy Kids franchise, but I guess the last one was so critically panned. Was it like a 0% Rotten Tomatoes? It was like really, really low.
All I know is that it was in 4D.
It was terrible.
It was terrible.
It was terrible.
Oh, you saw it?
I did. I've seen all of them.
Okay.
You sound very disappointed.
Yeah.
I was.
Is your cat pissed too?
Yeah. Friggin' pissed.
Did you get that from Melissa McCarthy's Spy Wardrobe? That cat sweatshirt
Yes.
is unbelievable.
Cat lady. Rocking it, girl.
So anyway, Johnny Quest.
Yes.
What a show.
So hopefully, maybe he can bring some new life into this. You know, I don't think the last movie I liked of Rodriguez's was probably Planet Terror.
Planet Terror was
Before
awesome.
the Machetes?
No, I didn't like the machine.
I liked
Yeah.
the first Machete.
I thought that was okay, but I'm glad that he's doing something like this. That it's actually a franchise he can sink his teeth into something that feels so played out, like the Machete in space. Maybe he'll run into Johnny Quest on one of his adventures.
Actually,
I don't
yeah.
Yeah. All right,
Makes
what's
sense.
next?
Fox is looking to reboot its 2003 adaptation of Alan Moore's comic book, The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, that centered on Victorian-era literary characters such as Captain Nemo, the Invisible Man, Dr. Jekyll, and Mr. Hyde teaming up to fight a common enemy. The original film starred Sean Connery and was his last live-action performance on the big screen. Dennis, do you buy or sell a reboot of The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen?
I'm going to have to sell this, and I haven't read the comic book, so it's not based on the quality of that. I heard it's actually really good. I just sell it because I actually don't think there's a demand for it. I don't think people are going to watch it. You know, this type of movie, and the thing is it cost $80 million, I think, to make the first one, and it made about 180 worldwide, which isn't bad, but it was critically panned, and so it has kind of what Schnepp calls the stink of failure to it.
Yeah.
So the brand is tarnished. So when another one comes out, all anyone's going to think about is the really bad Sean Connery one. So I don't know. What do you think, Amy Rose?
Yeah, I'm going to sell it because I don't really care that much. But, you know, with the stink of failure on it, I guess there's only one way to go, up, opposed to Point Break, where I think is a classic. So already my expectations are super low because I'm just like, it's not going to hit the original. So in this case, maybe they will improve upon it. But Sean Connery, I mean, even in a bad role, he's just the best. So if they lined up a really good cast, some of these characters are fairly interesting. It could work, but for now, I just don't need it.
You know, I didn't care about this movie at all when it came out. I don't think I've ever seen it. It didn't do that well. But The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, if you're going to reboot it, Fox looks like they're doing the right plays with comic book properties right now.
Yeah.
I'm going to tentatively buy this, actually, if they can put a good team around it, in front of it, and behind the camera. Look at what Fox was able to do with the Fantastic Four we have yet to see, but X-Men, they've really put that on the right track. And Kingsman, you can't tell me this doesn't have something to do with Kingsman, because Kingsman is another one that you didn't expect to see that movie do what it did at the box office. And again, it's a classier look for an action film, and I think that this falls into that same category. Plus, when you actually look at it, The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, the name doesn't sound, it doesn't leap off the poster. When you actually investigate this a little bit, it seems like a really interesting story that I'd want to see done right. And I think that, again, 2003, we were still learning how to make comic book movies and treat the material with respect and not throw a bunch of money at something and hope it pays off with a couple name brand stars on the poster. Now, 2015, I think we know how to do that better, and Fox is one of the better studios at pulling that magic off, so it's a tentative buy for me.
And get Matthew Vaughn to direct it. Let's do this.
Right.
If I remember correctly, Sean Connery passed on playing Gandalf in Lord of the Rings, the trilogy,
you're
so
right.
he could do this movie. And they were going to give him points.
You never
on Lord
pass
of the
on
Rings.
Middle-earth.
Points on Lord of the Rings.
You not
shall
the man
not
now,
pass.
dog.
Yeah. All right, what's next?
In an interview, iconic professional wrestler Hulk Hogan has revealed that he has talked to Sylvester Stallone recently about being a villain for a potential The Expendables 4. Hogan was quoted saying the following: "We're trying to figure out a way to maybe turn me into the most evil man in the world. You know, Stallone gave me my first break, and he's been a great friend. We had a great conversation talking about the possibilities. Can I still run? Can I still jump? Well, not as fast or not as high, but I think Hollywood could find a good stuntman to help me out." Amy Rose, buy or sell Hulk Hogan as the villain for Expendables 4?
I very confidently sell this one. Not every wrestler or fighter or whoever can act. It's just not that easy. The Rock is one that has transcended all expectations, and that's a beautiful thing. Gino Carano has not. There's so many instances. Dave Bautista, he was good as Drax because he's so mechanical, and he's not the best actor, but I loved him in that role. It doesn't always work. With Hulk Hogan, we've seen him act before. He's not a good actor. Could he be a menacing foe? Sure, maybe, but that's not a name I hear that I'm like, yes, I've been waiting for this to happen, you know? So for now, it's a pretty hard and fast sell for me.
Mark?
I'm gonna buy it because clearly Amy Rose didn't see Suburban Commando. Look, he's not the world's greatest actor, but if you've seen the Expendables franchise, you know that ain't the top priority. And I didn't like Expendables 3 that much. I thought it was everybody going through the motions. The casting of Hulk Hogan is not single-handedly going to bring everybody back to be like, oh no, we really got to commit to this. But when you're looking at people that you could cast in these roles, the way that they've been doing it in Expendables, Hulk Hogan would be at the top of the list. I know he's a wrestler, and I don't like wrestling at all. I'm not a fan of professional wrestling, never have been, but Hulk Hogan is an iconic American figure. He transcends wrestling. Even to this day, you just say the name Hulk Hogan, and people get it. So I think you cast him. I think you throw Mr. T in there, too, and we have a Rocky III mashup. That's the way to do it. I mean, this franchise is in danger of becoming a joke and falling in amongst itself, but if you're going to do that, you go down doing what you've always been doing. Hulk Hogan in this movie makes sense.
But Mel Gibson was a good actor. So, like, it just...
I'm actually gonna buy this
Yeah.
as well because
You got
it's not
Dudes.
acting isn't the high priority, and we've had Mel Gibson is a good actor, and he was really good in the
Yeah.
last
Right.
Expendables 3, even though that wasn't as good as the second one. But the second one had Jean-Claude Van Damme, who's also not the best actor
But
in the
he's
world.
a classic actor in this sphere. Hulk Hogan is not. You said it. He transcends wrestling. It does not transcend acting.
He was pretty good as Thunder Lips in Rocky
Yeah.
3.
But Jean-Claude Van Damme's not the best actor either, and I thought he was great as what was his character name, like Jean Villain or something, like instead of
Yeah.
villain.
I don't know.
It was just cheesy, and I think they can bring that with this one. I'm actually surprised, but I was reading about Expendables 4 because I thought after the third one, it's like they're done. Apparently, it didn't make that much money here in the U.S., but worldwide it made a lot of money. So now they're thinking about bringing it back. I hope though it's rated R because the
Yeah,
PG-13
that was ridiculous.
terrible.
Yeah, that's a great point. And again, if you want to bring some juice to this franchise, Hulk Hogan isn't the guy, but I don't know that there is somebody that you could put in Expendables 4. Dare I say Steven Seagal? Pick up the phone and see if that guy's willing to name his price because he'd be a great villain if you can fit him in one shot on screen.
All right, I think that's it for our buy or sell segment. We're going on to mailbag. You can send us an email at amcmovietalk@gmail.com, and we pick out a few. So what do we got, Sinead?
Callum writes, here is my question. What movie that got a sequel didn't deserve a sequel?
My pick is Cars 2. I did not care for the first Cars. I mean, I love Pixar and I love all their movies, but out of all the sequels that they were gonna do, they hadn't done Incredibles 2. They're working on it now, and Finding Nemo, they're working on one now. But Cars 2 was not the first thing I thought of. It did okay, but I just remember kind of falling asleep at that one, and I didn't even watch the second one. I heard it was worse, even worse. I think the reason they made it though was so they could sell all the toys for the kids. I don't know. What's your pick?
I like Cars too.
Aww.
I would say the Smurfs. God, that movie
Oh,
was terrible.
God.
And then you hear they're making a sequel. It's like, what are you people doing? Even Alvin and the Chipmunks, at least I understand the appeal of that. The Smurfs, Alvin and the Chipmunks was made for kids, and the Smurfs looked like it was trying to be something more than it was. It looked like you had the Smurf Village, and for the first 10 minutes, I was like, oh man, we're going to stay here? No, we're going in the real world. We're going to have Neil Patrick Harris goofing off. We're going to have Sofia Vergara goofing off, and it was such a bad movie. It was such a horrible experience for me to go through, and to hear they're making Smurfs too, I was like, the only thing worse than that would be my experience at G.I. Joe Rise of Cobra. I understand why they made a sequel to that, and I actually like G.I. Joe Retaliation. Even though G.I. Joe Rise of Cobra was so bad, that's such a known property that I think you can reboot that and make it better. So Smurfs, I didn't understand what they were doing. Having said that, the fact they're making a new Smurfs movie and they're rebooting that, I still have some confidence in it.
Rose?
You're a walking contradiction, Ellis. My thoughts on the CGI characters. Minus Paddington. That is the exception,
me
not the rule.
too.
He was
Right.
charming. The rest of them are the stuff nightmares are made of, straight up. Mean Girls too. Mean Girls, Tina Fey, masterful. It was such a good take on the high school and like comedy banter, the chemistry between the girls. It was just so clever and raunchy and hilarious. And they made a second one. Most people don't even realize that, but that is a self-contained film. You're not going to capture the same kind of magic unless you have all the same characters. Tina Fey's writing it again, and they made it. I'm pretty sure it went straight to VOD or a very, very small release. But I wasn't even aware it was made until I saw Mean Girls. So I'm like, what? And it's like literally verbatim the same exact thing. And that was such a great surprise. It was like Heathers of this generation, which is just so good, So no.
I think they're trying to franchise it like they do
Mean
with
Moms. They have Mean Moms coming out.
Oh,
Mhm, with
But
of
like
course you know that, Sinead.
Well, I mean, we talked about it on the show like a week and a half ago.
but they're trying to franchise it like the whole Bring It On franchise. Remember, there's like 1 million Bring It On movies. They had the one that was in theaters that did
Kirsten
well and
Dunst,
was
yeah.
well received, and then they made like 1 million VOD.
Bring it on again.
Yeah.
Bring it on
Still
last
bring it.
week.
Yeah.
Still over here, just bringing it.
I think they did American Pie. They did that as well. They made like
Yeah.
50 million. Not not talking about the theatrical
Like the
sequels.
camp
Yeah,
ones,
exactly.
Like I think Allison Hannigan was still in those, right? One of them was.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
Anthony writes, hello, everybody. Love everything you all do. Why do video game movies generally go for live action instead of full CGI? Most of the CGI cutscenes in big title video games are amazing, like Halo, World of Warcraft, etc. Wouldn't it give them more freedom and flexibility? Just wanted your take on it. Thanks, and keep up the great work.
Money. They don't feel like people a big enough audience will come and watch a full CGI movie, because they actually tried it already with Final Fantasy Spirits Within.
Yeah.
I think they came out, was it the late 90s or early 2000s? And I think it cost like $137 million to make. And it only made $32 million in the US, 85 worldwide. So it's a risk that studios don't want to take, you know, because I don't think a big audience would come and see it. I mean, maybe in the future, now that like video games are more prevalent, but I just don't see it, Mark.
I would love to see it happen. I think it will happen one day, because Final Fantasy it was a well-known video game, but I don't think that was the one to transcend to a mass audience. Even something like Halo, I think, could be the one to do that. World of Warcraft, that ship's already sailed, because Duncan Jones, I think, is going to do a phenomenal job with that. When I saw the Star Wars Battlefront trailer at Star Wars Celebration, I was like, just make this movie like this. This is awesome. This is how you can do this. So I don't know you're ever going to see it in the Star Wars universe, because, you know, they're kind of good at making those movies, but Halo is such an intriguing premise. Maybe this is the way to do it. When you see that stuff going forward, it looks so good now.
Amiris?
Yeah, I'm kind of mixed on it. I just think the answer nowadays is the blending of both. And I think that when you have too much CGI, in this kind of context, it actually would work out, because you want to lose yourself in this world with all the crazy and magical qualities and the rich landscapes that are in video games. That's why we love them. We get lost in there. And so in that context, I think it'd be good. But in terms of the audience nowadays, I just think that, you know, live practical effects with CGI when you need it, like Portal is another game that would actually be really cool with just showing both sides of that. So I think that it could be done if done really well. You brought up a really good example. But I just think that audiences get a little tired of just CGI nowadays. They want both. And there's a little more, I don't know, it's more daring to do live and practical effects with the combination of it to really enhance the experience for the user. So I think it will be done, but I think we want both, or at least I do. I'm speaking for myself.
I think studios just have these boxes that they place people in, where it's like, well, okay, we're going to do live action, and that's how you do action films. That's how you do adventure films. And then animated films, those are more for kids. Yeah. So you cast great voiceover talent, but it's in an animated movie, because we know that kids are going to want to bring their parents, and parents are going to take their kids to go see this stuff. So they don't think that it's going to cross over, because like if you're going to make a Halo movie, the first thing you would think is, who are they going to cast as Master Chief, or who's going to be playing these characters? What big box office star are you bringing to the table? And if it's all CGI, then it's merely a voiceover.
Yeah.
And so it's harder to sell that, but I think it can work. So somebody out there, try it. I want to see a Halo movie really bad.
Yeah, and you're not targeting the kids anymore, which cuts off a bunch of people who can actually see it. Let's say a Halo movie comes out, that's got to be PG-13, I'm thinking.
At least, yeah.
Yeah, and then you're making basically an adult animated movie, which I don't know if you can bring in. Let's say it costs over $100 million to make. Are you going to make $100 million or more?
I mean, I'll pay.
Okay.
I'll do what I can.
No, you won't.
Yeah, I'll totally pay.
All right, what's next?
Taiwan writes, hello, AMC High Council. Thank you for all your wisdom. I am a product of 80s and some 90s cartoons. My question is, which of these shows would you like to see on the big screen and has the best chance of that happening? Silverhawks, Dino Riders, Dino Saucers, Visionaries, and Inhumanoids? The old cartoons have so much potential. I really want to hear your opinion on this. Thank you so much. This is an honor.
I'm a fan of 80s cartoons and 90s cartoons, because that's when I grew up. So I like Silverhawks, which was basically a ripoff of Thundercats.
Right.
Inhumanoids. Out of that list, I think Inhumanoids would probably make the best movie, because it's about a group of scientists that dig deep into the earth, and they run into these giant subterranean monsters. So I get like kind of like a Pacific Rim vibe from it. So if, let's say, Pacific Rim 2 does well, maybe that could get turned into one. How about you?
I was looking at the list that the writer provided, and I'm like, I don't remember any of this stuff. I grew up in the 80s.
Do you have any
and 90s
alternate
too.
ones?
I was thinking, like, I wasn't even aware of Thundercats when I was a kid. I didn't know what Thundercats was till I moved to LA, and somebody referenced it. Silverhawks is the only one that I'd heard of, so I would have to, by default, say Silverhawks. There's nothing else. I mean, obviously, I grew up Masters of the Universe was my biggest thing, and I know Christian Harloff really wants to turn that into a franchise. I'm less sold on how you can do that on the big screen, so I don't know. We might be tapped out, but like one of these other things I'm just not aware of, like Inhumanoids, it sounds cool. I mean, I wouldn't pay Halo money to go see it, but I'd pay money to go see it.
Well, Silverhawks was that ripoff of.
Was
of
it totally a
Thundercats.
ripoff of Thundercats? It seems
Yeah.
like they fly, Dennis.
Yeah, but I mean, they just
I
take
like flying.
the same premise, the same chemistry, and they just turned it,
Yeah.
into space. It's like, remember Smurfs had the ripoff with snorkels or whatever. What was the ones that were
No,
undersea?
I don't remember.
Okay, look.
I am too old for this panel.
The worst ripoff of all time was Fraggle Rock. If anybody wants to bring Fraggle Rock to the table, they were afraid of radishes. They were such a ripoff of the Muppets. I hate everything Fraggle Rock. It upsets me to talk about.
Whoa,
Yeah.
whoa.
Damn.
Those
Yeah.
are fighting words.
Any 80s or 90s cartoons?
I can't say that list really struck a chord with me.
But
either.
any ones that you remember?
I mean, I do remember Inhumanoids, so that's the one by default that I would pick. But the rest of them, I really didn't. I mean, I was born in the late '80s, so yeah, I can't really, on the top of my head, think of a show that I'm waiting to be turned into it. And the ones from my youth, like Smurfs, they completely destroyed. So yeah, I can't say. And Paddington, I mean, I spent a lot of the time in the UK growing up because my dad had a base there in London, and so I grew up on Paddington. And the fact that they didn't ruin that made me really happy. So that's good. But that was a book series, of course. But no, nothing on top of mind. But I did read that list, and I was like, wow, made me feel young. So thanks for making me feel like a spring chicken.
Well, yeah, Sinead, anything? I know that was before you were even
She's
born.
like a 90s
Yeah, like
kid.
so anything in your childhood that you would want to see get turned into a movie.
I mean, like, yeah, I was born in the 90s,
Yeah.
but I mean, I grew up on like Looney Tunes and
Right.
all of that kind of stuff.
Pinky in the Brain.
Binky and the Brain, yes. I grew up on that stuff. No, there's nothing like, I don't even know if I would want people to touch that. Like, I
Really?
don't know if I would want anybody to touch Pinky and the Brain. That was the like Saturday morning cartoon. Looney Tunes or like something like that. I mean, we had, whatchamacallit, what's that one movie with Michael Jordan?
Space Jam.
Space Jam. I mean,
Who could forget?
yeah,
Yeah.
I haven't seen that in like 5 years, but I used to watch that all the time growing up. But I wouldn't mind seeing something else like that come about.
Imagine if they took like Pinky and the Brain or Looney Tunes and they smurfized it and like made it
No.
all, put it in the real world in 3D.
Oh.
All right, guys, I think that's it for today's show. I want to thank everyone on the panel, especially Amy Rose, her last day here. Amy Rose, where can people continue on to follow you after this?
Yeah, I'll still be on Twitter and Facebook and all the relevant social channels. Amy Rosie is my handle. I will be in Asia starting Friday for 6 weeks, but I'm going to start making my documentary there. And lots of great things to come with Radiant Jane Productions. Really excited to share it with all of you. And thanks again for all the support. Like, it's literally, you've made me cry like 4 times this week just from all the love and outpouring of just kindness. And, you know, I've been a part of this for so long, and it's like when I made the announcement on the show last week, we were talking about this. The Wiz Khalifa Furious song came on. I just started crying in my car because it's just like this is all I've known for like 4 years. So it's been crazy. But I literally would not be here without you, wonderful people, and all of you guys. So thank you for everything, and go chase those dreams of yours. Life's too short. Mwah.
We're gonna miss you, and we wish you good luck.
Thank you.
And where can people find you, Mark?
You can find me weeping in my room by myself because Amy Rose isn't going to be here for at least the next 6 weeks. You're going to be out of the country. But you can find me on Twitter at 5150else if you want to see my initial reaction to Point Break. And wherever you guys are, whatever you guys do in life, I hope you guys get to meet somebody like an Amy Rose Eisenbach, who when I came to AMC, she was so nurturing and supportive and helped me feel like one of the crew members by cutting my hand off. At our first Comic-Con party. So I brought that in. That's going to be the TBT on Instagram tomorrow. I love you, Amy Rose. You're the best. Thank you for everything.
And Sinead, where can people find you?
Well, I am online, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Periscope, all that good stuff, at Sinead DeFries and at thatsosinead.com. And I also want to say, I know I speak for everybody when I say we are all so excited to see what's next for you. And Amy Rose is seriously one of the nicest human beings I have ever come across in my life. You've been so helpful from the beginning, and being a newer member of the team, you've made me feel totally welcome, and we had the freaking best time in Vegas ever. So we love you very much. Good luck, and we cannot wait to hear all about your Asian travels.
This is sad.
This is like the show is just taking gone all the way down.
Don't worry, we got you a kitty sweatshirt as a parting gift.
Love you guys.
All right, guys, and you can find me on Twitter at ThinkHero, or on Instagram, Dennis.tzng. We're all going to miss Amy Rose. We actually have one more show to do. Yes. AMCI Indie Spotlight, so check that show out, and now that it's on the main channel. Also, don't forget to subscribe to this channel, youtube.com/AMC Theaters, and we'll see you guys tomorrow.